Okay, welcome back. I think the rest should, if you've not come in, then that should be your bad. So I think we'll just continue. Now I'll pick up from where we left last. I think I'll close these ones down. There's a lot going on there. So minimize this also. Uh, I'll open a SQL log. You can use any MySQL client of your choice. Somebody had called me earlier to ask if we can use MySQL to design your database. I said you can use any tool that you want. I'm using SQL because for me it's a bit convenient. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to to carry on from where I left last. We were designing our database on the Expedia flight booking, and I think we have done a few CRUD operations as far as nationalities were concerned. I just explained briefly how nationalities work. So I'll just go back to my, I think we call it Expedia booking, which is here. And I think we had these three. So maybe what we could do is we created stored procedures for creating countries, city, for creating country. That is, you save a country, you get country, and you delete a country. What we didn't do is to put country details. So maybe what you could do here is say sp get country details, just in case you need details of the country. So here you could and say when you're getting a country, of course you'll need the country ID, right? So I'll put here country ID, which is what we intend to have. So here I'm going to say select all fields from countries where then I can pick. Now you see the good thing with this tool is every time I'm talking about a column, I can just double click on the column and it comes here, so I don't need to type it by hand, and that reduces any mistakes that I could make. Equals country ID. So this will allow me to be able to get any country of my choice so long as I provide the country ID. So again, I'll push that. You need to make sure that it is successful down here. So now I have all the CRUD operation. I can save a country, I can edit a country, I can get a country details, I can get a list of countries, and I can delete a country. So that's generally how the CRUD operations are going to work out. So again, I can come here and test. Again, just double click, type the word call, double click on the name of the sort procedure, get country details, like that. Then you can put the country whose ID you want, then execute and check if it returns. If it returns, that it means it's working. So I can put something like 4. So yes, so I can see now I have CRUD operations for country. Now we can do for cities, for airports, and so forth and so forth. So let's come and do for cities. I'm doing this because I want us to be able to understand exactly how these things work. Because from the next class, we're just going to be going into PHP, then building our REST API backend, which you'll be able to connect to these things. But you need to be able to understand exactly how these CRUD operations are going to be built. So let's build CRUD operations for cities. So for cities, we have these fields. So again, well, if you want to write it by hand, you can say the limiter is $sign. Then you say create procedure. By the way, the good thing with this one is that even if I type it in lowercase, it will just correct it for me. Just check that out. So you can see that's why I love this tool. It will be able to correct for me in uppercase as a tool, but of course others may not allow you to do that. That's why I love this. Then I'll say SP, um, uh, save city. So save city, I'll need the city ID, which is integer. I need the city name, which is variable character, and maybe a city name can have 100 characters maximum. Then I have country ID, which is integer. So I think those are the three fields that I have. Then here I simply say begin, then I say end, then I do that, then I'll simply say the limiter, semicolon. So you can see typing all these, it's really not that fun, but you can type it if you want to. So that's why I usually just prefer to come here, say, get a new procedure SP, save city. It will give me the template, so I just remove the comments and I end up with exactly the same thing. I remove these comments and you can see I end up with exactly the same thing. I don't need to do a lot of typing. So probably the only thing I do is to provide my variables, which is city ID, city name, 100, and country ID, which is integer. So again here, we will, but that is how you put comments inside SQL. You can put two dashes. So I'll simply say check if city exists. Okay, I know that there are not two cities in the world that have the same name, so there's no other Nairobi anywhere else in the world. So I can simply say if not exists, select all fields from cities where city name is equals to the city name that I provided. If it doesn't exist, then you can create a new one. Otherwise, if it exists, then what do? You don't do anything. If it exists, you don't do anything. So if the city does not exist, I'll simply check if we are adding a new city. If you're adding a new city, it means that this city ID is going to be zero. Okay? i.e. city ID is equals to 0. Then I'll simply say if city ID is equals to 0, then create a new city, else update the city, then and if. Um, this is, I'm just trying to show us how we write logic in the database, and it's better because we get the advantages of this scalability, speed, security, and even in terms of code maintenance. It's much easier if we write it inside the stored procedure rather than on our server side. Actually, of course, the stored procedure is server side, but I'm talking about something like either PHP or Node or whichever backend or Ruby on Rails or whichever backend you're using, that kind of a thing. So if the city ID is 0, I'll say insert into, then I'll put cities, then I'll put the field names, then I'll insert my values over here. Right, so city, I'll insert city name because city ID is auto number and country ID. Then I'll put here city name and country ID like that. Now, if city ID is not 0, it means I want it to update. So I'll come here and I'll say update cities. Then I'll say set my value city name is equals to the city name that I provided, and of course the country ID equals to the country ID that I provided. Then of course I need to put a where statement, where clause rather, where city ID is equals to city ID like that. So this will do several things. Um, Here I'll say create a new city, and here I'll say update existing city details. So you can see I'm doing several things inside the stored procedure. Of course, I don't need this other else. I just need end if here. So if for some reason the city name exists, and if there is some if well this logic might not be accurate because if the city name exists, I'm not going to update it. You need to check it.
Can't hear you, sir.
Yes, somebody saying something. Oh, there are people waiting to. Now, that's why I was telling you, I don't want you to come late in class once the others have joined. Then you want me to be able to switch back and forth so that I'm able to join you in. Kindly, next time I'm not going to allow that. So I was saying this logic will not work because if you see what I'm trying to do, I'm checking if the city name exists. So it means if the city name exists, then I'm not going to do anything inside here, which is totally wrong. I needed to do
Can't
something.
hear you, sir.
Yes? Oh, sorry, you can't hear me. Oh, sorry. My mic was on mute. Sorry, my mic was on mute. Good thing is that I was recording that, so no worries. You'll be able to follow it up from there. But as I was saying, we're just picking up from where we left last, and I was trying to create a to further the stored procedures. We created one for country. I created a new one for getting the country's details, which is here. So we didn't have getting country's details. We forgot about that. So I just created it. Then I went ahead and started creating now the CRUD operation for cities. And that's what I was explaining is what's happening here. So in a nutshell, what I've done is I've written this script that allows me to check if a city name exists. If it does not exist, I check for there. If we are adding a new city, and if the city ID is zero, then we update an existing city. But as I was saying, this logic would not work out because so long as a city exists, then the update will never happen. Because if a city exists, you see, I'm only checking that this portion of the script will only happen if the seed does not exist. So that is wrong. So what I ought to have done is to move these ones on the outside like that. Then this exist would only happen if the city ID is zero here like that. Then that would actually work out. So this end if goes inside here. So that would work out. So it means that I'm only checking if the city exists if I am adding a new city. If I'm adding a new city, then I'm checking if the name exists. If the name exists, then I don't add it. Or rather, I can even check it here so long as the city exists and the ID is not the same as the current ID, then that can also work out. So I can also check if the city exists here before I update. So check if city name exists and ID is different from current ID. If the ID is different from the current ID but the name exists, then it means that it actually exists. So here I can say if not exists, select all fields from series where the city name is equals to the city name that has been provided and the city ID is not equal to the city ID that has been provided, then it means that there is a different city with similar name inside the database, so I don't need to execute this statement. This is how you write your logic. Okay? So this update will come inside here. So you can see sometimes it looks like these things are very easy to achieve, but the logic of how you actually build them internally becomes a little bit crazy. Okay, so now this I think would be able to work out because we have done several things. We are checking if you're adding a new city. If you're adding a new city, we check if the city name exists. If the city name does not exist, then we create the city. Now, if we're not adding a new city, we check if there's another city with similar name, but the ID is different from the ID that you provided. So it means that there is a separate city that is not the current one that we are dealing with. So then, if that is the case, which means that statement is not true, is true rather, then we update the city. So we can have this. You want to check that it's successful, it's actually successful. Then let's save a few cities. So we have Kenya as our first country. So I'll just call this. By the way, you could just open it from, yeah, you can just open it like that. Then you remove these data types so that you remain with your variable. That's how I like testing them, or that's how you can test them on your own. So city ID is zero. I want to create a new city. The city name I want to create variable kata is Nairobi. So I'll say Nairobi like that. And the country ID, I'll need to put the country ID. I think Kenya is country ID number one. Then I'll run that and I can see one row has been affected. So if I go to the cities table and open a new tab, now I have Nairobi for country number one. Now this one is Kenya, as you can see. Let me try to add a country that does not exist, because what happened is when I was creating my cities over here, you could see that I actually created a foreign key where the country ID relates to the country's table. So it means that I cannot insert a country that does not exist. So let me say I want to insert country number 50. So let me say Kisumu or Mombasa, and maybe say 50. I know this country does not exist. So I'll right click that. I'll do that. So you can see when I try to execute the statement, it will tell me that you have an error receipt tax. Okay. That's not what I expected. So run that. You can see I cannot add or update child row with non key constraint. So it means this does not exist and I cannot add it. So the table is protecting itself. Why I'm going through all this is because I want you to be able to design the database properly, map over fields that are related properly, so that now even if somebody attempted to add data that is invalid, the database takes care of itself. Okay, so that's the main agenda for this particular exercise that we are undertaking. But of course, we can add Mombasa is here. Then I can go and add Kisumu. I can add Eldoret, Eldoret, and so on and so on. So when I come to my cities, you can see now they have all been added. Nice and easy. So just execute the stored procedure, give the parameters, and everything goes. Well, of course, I can update a city. Let me say I want to add a city called um, Kampala, and I've added Kampala to Kenya, which is wrong. It will accept, of course. You can see I've added Kampala to Kenya. Kampala is in Kenya. So if I click here, you'll see Kampala is in Kenya. That's not true. So Kampala is ID number 6. I want to update it to Uganda. And I think Uganda was country ID number 2, if I'm not wrong. Yes, Uganda was country number ID 2. So when I come here and I'll say 6 here, and I say Kampala, then I give it 2, which is now the correct country, and I run it. You can see it works. And if I come to my cities and refresh, this one has been updated. So it means my query is actually working the way I intend it to work. I can be able to save and update using this one single script. So that's the whole point that I'm trying to derive at when we're talking about these CRUD operations as far as our database is concerned. We can go on. We have created the create. Then let's go to the read. Read is two things. We can get all the cities, or we can get a specific city's name, or we can get cities based on the country that has been selected. So let's do that. So when I want to get all cities, so I'll create a procedure here and I'll say SP filter cities. So then, of course, I'll remove the comments as usual. It's because I don't like typing the template end to end. So that's how it should look like. Or you can save this statement somewhere. So every time you want to create a stored procedure, simply change the name of the procedure, then add your variable inside here. Otherwise, I like using the one that comes with the tool itself. So when I'm filtering cities, I can put the country ID. Okay. So when I'm filtering city, I can put the country ID, which is integer. So I might want to filter all cities, or cities that belong to a particular country only. Then what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say is if country ID is equals to 0, if country ID is equals to 0, then do the following, otherwise do the following. So you can see when it comes to filtration, now it makes it very, very easy for you to be able to apply those filters without necessarily writing a lot of code. So I'll simply say here select all fields from cities. Well, I can put C as an alias because I want the country name. Then I can put here country name from cities. So I want to get all the fields from the cities table, then the country name, because here I don't have the country name, I only have the country ID. Okay. So I'll give the alias here as C. Then I'll say join this table called countries as okay O on O dot country ID is equals to C dot country ID. This will country ID. These are spelling mistakes. Yeah, that's wrong. Something like that. So this will allow me to join this table and this table where the country ID is the same. So it means that it's able to get me the correct country. But again, you can use joins or you can use some queries. It will depend on what's good for you. I'm just trying to show you how we implement whatever we learned in SQL as far as this software development thing is concerned. Then after I join, I can come here because country ID is zero. If country ID is zero, it means I'm filtering by everything. Then I can simply here order by country name. Okay, so you want to order them by country name, then by city name, something of that sort. So then I put a semicolon. So that will be able to get me all the countries and all the cities, but of course it's not going to filter out. Now the other portion is I might want to filter out. So here I'll simply add a where clause here, and I'll say where c dot country ID is equals to country ID, like that. So I've only added a where clause here. So it's the exact same query, only that if the country ID is not zero, then I'll filter out by the specific country that has been specified. So that's what I am intending to achieve with this query. Then I can put a semicolon here and I run this. I want to believe that it should be okay. It's actually successful, as you can see. Then when I come here, I can simply say get cities, filter cities, like so. Then I'll put first of all put the country ID to be zero. So it means it's going to return all of them. You have to start with the word call like that. Then you run it. It's going to give me all the cities. So as you can see, I have city ID, city name, country. Then I have appended the country name. That is this portion over here, the join part, and where I was now specifying the name from the other column. Again, this is SQL that I want to believe you had learned and just seeing how to implement them in actual practice. So I can get all the cities. But if I wanted only cities in Kenya, I can come here and say the country ID is one. I want to believe that I should not be able to see Kampala, so Kampala is gone. And if I wanted Uganda only, I put two, and I'll only be able to see cities in Uganda, like that. So you can see that is how we do the filtration. Now, if you ask me, this query is a little bit too big. If it was me, I would have written it a little bit differently. So this would work, but I can also come here and alter this third procedure. I don't need to write the two of them like that. I only need to write one of them like this. I can cut this and I can remove everything else like that. So what I would do is I'll simply say here where, first of all, either this country ID is equals to zero or c dot country ID is equals to country ID. Now, you see what I'm trying to do here? I'm saying country ID is zero. So if you provide zero, this portion will return true. So it's not going to filter out by this. And if this country ID is not zero, it's going to filter out by this. So this statement, as you can see, will replace the two queries that we had, and it makes it a little bit more readable if you ask me. So some people, when you're learning, you prefer to write it this way. It's much bigger, and especially when you have a lot of parameters, this query becomes relatively bigger. But if you look at it from this perspective, by the way, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to achieve the same thing. Let me just run it, and it has executed successfully. So if I come here and run it, you'll see it still does the exact same thing that 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 that, um, that the other query does. So I can either do that or this, like that. Is still able to do the exact same thing. So it will depend on what you're comfortable with. Would you like to write it detailed like this? So where I have my condition, then I simply put this, or if that condition was true, I have put this, or you can write it in shorthand like this. Okay, so whichever is comfortable with you, you can go with that. But of course, as you're going to be writing professional queries, this is the way to go. This one makes it much shorter, much smaller, and of course, after you optimize your database with indexes, this is a much more efficient way of extracting the data. All right, so we have filtered cities. So let's get a specific cities detail. So I'll come here, crystal procedure, SP, get city details like that. So when I'm getting a city details, I need to give the city ID. So I'll put a dollar sign here, city ID, which is integer. I'll remove these comments like that. I'll also remove these other comments like that. Then here I'll just say select all fields from the cities table where the city ID is equals to the city ID that I provided. As simple as that, straightforward. So I'll execute that. Then I can test to see if it's working. Every time you write a query, kindly test that it is working. So I'll come here, then I'll say call, then I'll paste it. Then I'll simply say I want to get city ID one. Then that will give me Nairobi. If I come to 4, it will give me Kisumu. So you can see that is actually working. The next thing, of course, is to delete the city. So deleting the city again, I'll come here, I'll right click, I'll say SP delete city like that. So when I say delete city, I'll remove these comments and I'll remove this. Then I'll put city ID here, which is integer. So for me to delete a city, I'll simply say, sorry, delete from cities where city ID is equals to city ID. So I usually, yeah, then I put a semicolon over there. Though we're not going to use this in actual practice because we don't delete data from our system permanently. We use a soft delete. So this is how you would delete, but in actual sense, in any real life application, we never do this kind of thing. Okay. So, but I'll just show us how to do it anyway. So delete city. So when I come here and let me look at Kampala. Kampala is 6. So I want to delete city number 6. So I'll simply say call sp delete city. Then I'll give it 6, which is Kampala. Then I'll execute it. It tells me one row has been affected. So when I come back to my cities, it's here, cities, and I refresh, you can see Kampala is not there anymore. Okay, so that is the CRUD operation for cities. Then you can go ahead and do CRUD operations for airports. Okay, now, for CRUD operations, as far as airports are concerned, well, this airport code that we have inside here, we might want to generate it manually. Well, I think they're not generated; they are given standard names, so well, we might not generate it. But when it comes to flight numbers, then maybe we can generate the flight number. So let's go ahead and do the CRUD operation for our airports. We have done CRUD operations for city, so I just close all of these ones. I don't need to save them; they're already part of my database. Just close them so that your window is not too full. So you're only left with the ones that you're working with. So I'm done with countries, I'm done with cities, so I don't want to do airports. I can actually even delete all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click here again, create stored procedure, SP, save airport. Okay. So save airport, I'll remove these things and I'll remove these comments. Then for me to save the airport, I need the airport ID, which is integer. I need the airport name, which is variable character, maybe 100 in length. I need the code. Let me call it airport code, which is variable character. I think all of them are maximum 3 characters. I don't think there's one that's more than 3 characters. Then I'll need the city ID, which is integer. So you can see I have all these parameters 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have the 4 parameters over there. So what I'm going to do here is first of all, I'm going to check if we are adding a new one. Okay, then that will be if Airport ID is 0. Airport. Don't do spelling mistakes. Airport ID is equals to 0. Otherwise, it won't work. If airport ID is 0, then you're adding a new one. Otherwise, we're updating an existing one like that. So if this, then we are adding a new one. So what we need to do is check, check airport code or name. They are not two similar airports with the same code or name. So you check airport code or name, and once you do that, then you save the airport. So I'll simply here, if not exists, select all fields from airports where the airport code is equals to the code that has been provided, airport code, or the airport name is equals to the airport. So long as these two condition, this so long as this condition has not been met, so it means that it's going to check the airport code or the airport name. If either has already been used, then it's not going to do the insertion. Okay, so I'll simply here say then now end if over here. Okay, so you can see as we are writing these queries, it makes it much easier for us to be able to implement some logic in terms of checking, and this is very independent of our front end. So even if it is kept our front end, the database will make sure that duplication of data is kept at bay. We are only keeping the correct set of data moving forward. I just need to confirm that this is recording. Actually, it is recording, so that's good. So if all of them, if the airport code does not exist and the airport name does not exist, then we'll do the insertion. So we'll insert into our airports over here. Then we're going to give its values like that. So for the airports, we're going to give the airport code, we're going to give the airport name and the city where it comes from, because the airport ID is auto-generated. So here we're going to put airport code, because that's our variable name, as you can see over here. That's our variable name. Then we have airport name. Then we also have the city ID, like that. Okay, so that should be able to do that work for us. Now, if we are not adding a new airport, we can still check if the code and name exists. If code or name and or name exists. So long as there's an airport with a code or a name that we have provided and the ID is not the ID that you provided, then it means that they exist in another airport. So that's what I'm trying they exist in the table as a separate or a different airport. So that's what I'm trying to validate. So I'll simply come again and copy this statement. You could type it. The only thing I need to do is to add here. So these two, so they will be aware the airport ID is not equal to airport ID, and then this condition has to be tested as one. This condition has to be tested as one. So it is this one is true, and either of this is also true. So now remember, this is how queries work. If I remove this bracket, it means that it will be this and this or this alone independently. But this does not stand independently. It is this combined with this, or this combined with this. That's why I've put and these two in brackets. So that will be able to test for us if the airport exists. The airport ID is not similar to the airport ID that we provided, and either the code exists or the name exists. So that is how we determine that. So if that's successful, then I'll end my if here. Then I'll just be able to come and do my update. By the way, I can throw this one on a new line so that you're able to read the whole of it from end to end. The white space is not very important. So here I will insert, not insert, but rather update. I will update my airports. Then I will set my fields. So I have the code here equals to airport code. airport. Then separate them. The airport name will be airport name, and of course, city ID will be city ID. Of course, I need to put a where clause where the airport ID is equals to the airport ID. Every time you're updating or deleting, make sure that you put your where clause. Otherwise, you might end up updating everything if you don't put a where clause, or deleting everything if you've not updated everything. So I'll simply have this like that's this one condition, then this is what we need to execute. And I think this should be able to allow us to either create a new airport or update the airports that are existing. So you can go ahead and test if these queries are actually working. So first of all, we execute it like that. So it's successful, which means it's saved. So you can see here, save airport is already part of my database. Then I'll be able to select all of this, copy it, come to my query here, then say call. Then I'll just remove the data types like that. Now I'll say airport ID is 0. I'm trying to get a new one. Airport name is Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Does it have the well? International Airport, like that, single quotes. Airport code is NBO. NBO is city. Uh, what did have code? Was the city the one having code or the airport? I think the city is one that has code. Let me just confirm that. I think I've confused something there. Expedia. I think it's the city that has code. Let me just check that out. This should be Nairobi. Oh, it's the airport that has a code, not the city. It's the airport that has a code, not the city. So that's perfectly okay. So yeah, JKA is NBO, and the city ID is Nairobi. One. I want to believe Nairobi is the first city, the city with ID number one. So I'll just check that. Open a new tab. Yes, Nairobi is the city with ID one. That's very important. Then I just save this. I can see one row is affected, so it means that when I come to airports, I should be able to see there's an airport here. So there's an airport called NBO. So when I click on this, it's actually in Nairobi. Perfect. Then we can do Wilson Airport. So here, again, Wilson Airport. That is, now if I put NBO, NBO already exists as NBO already exists as a JKI as JKI. So let me try to save it. So you're going to see no row has been inserted, which means our logic here is working. So it is checking if the airport name exists or the airport code exists. So, and we can confirm in the table that actually it has not been added. So you can see it has not been added. So you can see this is how you protect your database or you write logic so that even if some crazy front-end engineer does not validate their front end, it makes sure that invalid data does not go into your database. So I'll correct this one, it is WIL, Wilson. And that should allow me, yes, one row affected, and that should mean it is created. So you can say I have Wilson Airport. Well, we can go to Mombasa International Airport and look up its code. So Mombasa International Airport, it's called Moi International Airport. Moi International Airport, Mombasa. Moi International Airport, what is the code? the code is MBA. Okay, so I can come here and go ahead and put Moi International Airport, airport, MBA, and save. We also have Kisumu. Okay, I've written it Moi wrongly, so it's not wrongly per se, but I put capital O. So what if I wanted to correct it? It's ID number three, so I'll come here and say ID number three, and then just correct that. Then run it. Then when I come back here, you can see it's actually corrected. So both parts of our insert and update are actually working. As you can see, that's what you need to do every time you're working with your queries. You want to make sure that your query is actually capable of doing whatever it is intended to do. If it is doing two things, make sure that it is doing the two things together. Okay, so we have done the create part and of course the read part.
Yes.
The part of the part, the create and update
Hello?
part, the
Yes,
insert
yes,
and the
hello.
update part. So the next thing I want us to do is to be able to do the reading part. So when doing the reading part, we might want to filter airports by where they are coming from,
Yeah, tangu sasa.
or maybe the name of the airport. So that is exactly what we intend to do in this other exercise. So when you are doing the read, let's make sure that we are able to read data. Sorry, read airport by their name or the city where they are coming from. How easy is that? Maybe I can post that challenge, then I can see what kind of solutions you can come up with. How easy is it to achieve that? I want to filter the airport by its name or the city where it comes from. How do you achieve that? Any suggestion? You can raise your hand, then you speak. You can type in the comment. No idea. At least you should try. Okay, this is how you'd achieve it. So let me write it for us. So I'll simply say filter airports
Hello.
like that.
Kuna kakiko hapo nataka kubadili service.
So
Naenda nayo mahali hapa. Kuna kingine kwa hapo kwa hiyo biashara.
So when you're filtering airport, I can give city name,
Nasema
or I can give
kimoja
Airport.
ndogo ya black.
name.
Iko kwa tunataka mafuta. Hapo karibu.
Well, let me make them 100, all of them. Though technically, I know somebody might not search with all of them. So I'll put my query inside here like this. I'll say select airport dot all fields, city name. Then I'll get from airports as A. Then I will join cities as C on C dot city ID is equals A dot city ID because each airport belongs to a city. So that's one part. This will actually return for me all the airports with the city where they belong. But I need to filter by city name or airport name. So what I could do here, I could simply add a where clause here, where the c dot city name like, then I'll do a concatenation of percentage. Then I'll put my city name inside here. So what it means is that it will take the city name, then it will append two percentage signs down here. It looks something like this. So if I type Nairobi, I'll simply put Nairobi like that. So it will put that as part of my search. So this is what it's going to do. That's what this statement here does. Okay. So that is one part, or I can say, or a dot airport name like, same thing, concatenate. I'll put percentages and I'll put airport name. Sorry, like that. Then what I'll simply do is I'll order by city name, then airport name. Because most likely we search by city names, then airport name, for example. So now this is the query that you'd use. Now I'm just trying to show us how to use the SQL that we had learned before to actually implement an actual application and see how this works out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute this. So it's successful, no problem at all. So I'll pick this query over here, and I can say call, then city name, let's say Nairobi. I don't even need to type Nairobi in full, just that is enough. And airport name is, well, I didn't validate that, but let me put blank. But even if I put blank, it will return all airport names. So what I'll need to do is if either of them is blank, then I'll put some value that is random so that it does not return true. So I'll simply say here if city name is equals blank, then I'll say city name is some random text, then end if. Because if it is blank, it is going to return all the values. Okay, the same I will do with my airport name. So airport, airport name, airport name. So this will just make sure that if we leave any field blanks, it does not return all the other values, because what this will do is it will match airport name, which is blank, then append these such strings, then of course it will return all the airports. But this will make sure that it does not return anything, because even if you appended a star here, a percentage here and a percentage here, there is no airport name that has a name that looks like this. So that's just what I'm trying to achieve over there. Okay. So again, I can't make these changes here directly because I've already saved this query. If I tried, it will tell me the query already exists, as you can see. Actually, this is wrong. This should have been set with a semicolon. This one should also have been set with a semicolon, like that. So it will tell me it already exists. That's what I expected it to do. So what I'm going to do, because this is the only portion that I've changed, I'll right click this one, copy this, come to filter airports, alter, then I'll add the statement up here, like that. That should be able to allow me to save it back. I can put some space here just to separate the logic, like that. Then that should be able to work out. So it works. So when I come back to my query and I say Nairobi and a blank and I run, you're going to see I have only the airports in Nairobi. Well, if I don't say Nairobi and I say Jomo Kenyatta, like that, you can also see it returns for me only Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. And that is exactly what this thing here is doing. So if I type Nairobi, it will give me Nairobi. But if I type Jomo, sorry, if I type here Jomo, it's going to also search Jomo Kenyatta International Airport on any airport that has the word Jomo. So you can be able to see that is how you create such a search. Okay, that's how you create such a search. Now, I know this is something new. You're not used to doing things like this, but ideally, this is how we create logic for our application. That's how we filter our airports. Now, if I want a specific airport's details, then definitely what I will do is I will now get an airport, get an airport by its ID. So let's get specific airport details. So here I'll say SP get airport details like that. So I'll need the airport ID, which is integer. I'll remove all these other comments. Sorry, I'll remove these comments and also remove these comments. So here I'll just say select airport.all fields. I need to know where that airport is coming from. Maybe the city and the country. So I'll say c dot city name, and the country is n dot country name. I'm just using aliases. Again, this is SQL, and I want to believe that you've done SQL, so I'm just doing implementation of what you already know rather than teaching you SQL from scratch. So then I'll say from airports here as A. Then you want to join cities here as C on C dot city ID is equals to A dot city ID. Then I also want to join the country N, because I've said here the country should be noted by delta N, on N dot country ID. It is related to the city C dot country ID, like that. Then I can add my where clause where A dot airport ID is equals to airport ID, something like that. So that should be able to get me the full details as far as a particular airport is concerned. Then again, I'll right click this, not right click, but I'll click on this icon to execute the query. It is successful. Then I can test that it is working. So I'll copy this, I'll come here, I'll say call, then I'll put my query, then the airport ID I put is 1. Then I try to run. I can see it tells me this is airport 1, code is MBO, JKIA, city is Nairobi, and country is Kenya, and so forth and so on. So you can do that over and over again. Now, the last CRUD operation that we're going to do here is on deleting the airport, which by now I think that should be pretty straightforward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this. I'll say question procedure SP delete city, delete airport, not city, airport. Then I'll do that. So I'll need to give the airport ID, which is integer. Then here we're just going to delete the airport. So I'll say delete from airports where airport ID is equals to airport ID, like that. So I click on that, it runs, it's successful. So when I come to my airports over here, let me delete one of them.
You're not charging.
So I want to delete Wilson, which is 3, or I can delete Wilson, which is 2, not 3. So what I'll do is I'll copy this and I'll come here and I'll say call that. Then I'll put the airport ID here, which is 3. 2 actually, not 3. Then I'll run it. One query is affected. So when I come back to my table, which is airports, refresh, you can see Wilson is gone. I can go ahead and add it back. So I'll come back here. I'll say 0. Then I'll say Wilson Airport. And then that is WIL. Then it's that, then right it again. Then I can get filter airports. I can say Wilson. And you can see it works out. And if I want to get Wilson's details in full, something like 4. And you see it actually gives me the full details as far as Wilson Airport is concerned. So you can see when it comes to queries, these are very powerful tools that allow you to be able to not only just write things to insert data into database, but they allow you to create logic that
No,
actually
nasema
checks the
how is it
data and
possible
allows you to be able to filter that,
one
to check that
national
data and
park
even provide
session?
logic on how that data can be acted upon as far as your database is concerned. I have not touched any backend tool
So
like
how
either
is that?
PHP
See
or
the
something like
query is
that at the back,
the
but
same
you can
query is
see
edited.
inside my application,
See the
I'm still
parameter
able to
kuna
create the
change.
logic at the back and everything works perfectly. So that is good. So the next thing I need to do, I'm seeing I didn't add the the need for flights. I didn't add a table for flights.
Ati
So
nini?
let me
File
add
gani?
table for flights. Then we can be able to see how we can actually add those flights. All right.
Hiyo ni ya single. Single is okay.
I hope this is okay. So far, so
Yeah,
good. You can
but
clarify if
only
I'm
one
too
channel
fast. You can
single.
clarify if I'm too fast. If I'm too fast, if there's any question, you can also ask. Then I can be able to proceed on to the next phase. But ideally, this is what I'm expecting you to do in your projects. And of course, when you're going to be writing your project, this is exactly what you'll be expected to do as far
Hata
as the
sielewi
database
kwa
is
nini.
concerned.
Si unazipeleka kwa temporary table ama
Okay?
unazireplace.
You can ask any question if you have, then I can clarify any comment that is necessary.
Yeah,
You
but
can use the
there's no
chat, you can
difference.
raise your
Everybody
hand,
difference.
or you can
Unapotelea
unmute
muziki
your microphone. Steven, you want to say something?
No, no, in the meantime unataka uachane na hiyo project umechukua time sana. Mm. So tuone vile tutafanya. Nataka kuna ile
Okay,
nyingine
Steven didn't
nataka
have anything to say. Anybody
ile
who has any question? I'm not seeing any mic
ile
on.
allocation. Kuna vitu nataka uongeze. Ukopi hiyo uite maybe new ile ingine wachane nayo. Kuna vitu nataka uongeze.
All right, so if there's none, then let's just go right into flights. So, if I look, okay, I don't have my flight database over here, but I think I'll create a new table, call it
Yeah,
flight
ya project ina run.
flight data. Is it flight data or flights? Huh? I think it's
So
called
ikijua
flights. Huh?
point tunaweza
So
discuss
for
from
flights,
tunaweza discuss ikishaona hiyo
we'll have the flight ID,
Mm.
the flight ID here. We'll have the flight number here. You have the airline. Actually, we need to start with airlines, not flights. Let's start with airlines. Let's start with airlines. So we have airline ID, airline name, the home country, because each airline has a home country. Also, we have their logo. What else do we have? So, yeah, I think this is okay. I think this is okay. Um, Again, we're going to do airline ID is integer, primary key, auto increment. Airline name is variable character, 50. 100 is okay. Home country is integer. You can say home country ID is integer. Logo is variable character, something like maybe 1,000. Well, I'm not expecting the path to be that long. So here we are going to give a comment and say this is path to the file for the logo. So it's good to give comments sometimes so that you're able to understand what you're trying to add here. So when somebody sees a logo here, they could be assuming we're storing a blob. Somebody will ask, why are you not storing a blob data type? Blob would allow me to store an image on that field. I don't want to store images inside my database. For me, I think it's a bad idea, but some people could store an image in the database. So I just want to store the path where that image is stored. Then I can give a comment here so that in the future, if somebody is asking why the image is variable character, it's because that is the path and not the actual image that is stored in the database, something of the sort. So as we are designing our databases, it's also very important for us to be able to understand how all these things actually come into play. So I will save that.
Monitor.
I don't need to create more tables. Then I'll need to do CRUD operation for my airlines. So again, I'll create a stored procedure here. I'll say SP, save
walipata shughuli ngumu,
airline.
sasa alichelewa.
So save airline. Um, I'm going to check if the airline
Kama
to create the airline.
acha ni
Then
kama
I change as appropriate. So here I'll put airline ID, which is integer, airline name, which is variable character up to 100 characters. Then I have country ID, or I can say home country ID. It depends on how you want to call it.
messages.
Home country ID, that is integer.
Messages.
And then we have the logo,
Messages,
which is variable character, maybe 1,000. That's what I put the path to be. So then here it's pretty straightforward. First of all, check if you're adding new. Check if adding a new airline. So I'll simply say if airline ID is equals to 0, then do this. Otherwise, do this, then stop, like that. So if airline ID is 0, we check if the airline name exists. Check if airline name exists. Then that will be if not exists. If not exists, select all fields from airlines where the airline name, which is here, is equals to the airline name. If that is not true, so it's going to check, and it's going, if it returns, it's going to be true. Then I just want to check if it is not true. That's why not exist is used here. So long as it does not exist, then we will insert it. So here we'll say insert into airlines the values. The airlines are airline name, home country, and logo. So we'll insert here airline name, home country ID. The variable that you've put here, just make sure it's exactly the same. And then of course the logo. Like that. Now if that is not the case, then we're going to come and still check if the airline name exists. Different from our ID, our airline ID. So here again, we're going to just repeat this statement. Well, I can type it if not exists. Select all fields from airlines where airline ID is equals to airline. Actually, airline ID is not equal to airline ID, and airline name is equals to airline name. So if that is the case, then we can do the update, then we stop. So here we're going to simply say update airlines, set airline name is equals to airline name, then comma, home country ID equals to home country ID, and of course logo is equals to logo. You can put aware clause, the airline ID is equals to airline ID, like that. That should allow us to be able to create airlines and update it. Now, it has an error. It tells me there's a syntax error near else. So else is here, so it means I forgot a semicolon here, which is totally fine. I can put it. You can see also make mistakes, then run it again. And I want to say success, which is actually very, very good. So when I say success, it means that everything has gone on well. I can remove these airport details because we're done with them. We no longer need them. So I just close them up. So we don't need airports, we don't need cities. We don't need airports. So we only need airlines. That's fine. So now let's test if, well, saving the airline works. So again, I'll delete all this. I'll come here. I will select this, and I'll simply say call that airline ID. I'll say it's 0 because we want to add a new one. Airline name, I'll start with our very own Kenya Airways. The home country is Kenya, which is ID number 1. And the logo, well, I'll put a path, maybe say uh, kq.jpg. So maybe that's how the logo is. So from my application, I have a path where the files are stored. So I just go and look for a file that has this name from our path, and I'm able to load that logo. So I'll save that. I can see one row has been affected. If I try to save it again, you can see 0 rows have been affected because KQ already exists and I'm trying to add a new one. So besides KQ, I can add JumboJet. So JumboJet, still in Kenya, I can add Safari Link. Well, that is a mistake. I have written Kjumbo. So let me just open my table here. That. Then refresh. You can see it's written Kjumbo and it's ID number 2. Let's modify it just to make sure that our query is working. So put ID number 2 here, so it means we are updating. Then remove that. Then execute. One row is affected, so it means it has worked. Come here, refresh, and I can see it has actually updated, right? So I can come and add after Jumbo Jet, we have Fly 540. So we have Fly 540. Then we also have, which one? I think we have another one called Safari Link. So Safari Link. I'm just doing this because once we start looking at our user interface, we're going to be looking at a lot of this data. Of course, we're going to test all these things inside our application and see how it works out. So that is good. So now we have, oh, the problem is I had to put here the ID instead of 0. I had to put, I had to put so, well, I'll leave that to that. So I'll put 0, sorry. I'll put 0. Then I'll put Jumbo Jet. It's Jumbo Jet. So you can see people can make mistakes. Then we also have Safari Link. No Safari Link, but Fly 540. Those Fly 540. Like that. So again, when I come to my lines here, I think I should have 4 values. Yeah, that's kind of like how I expected to have them. And you can have all the airlines in the world, and of course, where they are domiciled. Are they Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania? Like position would be Tanzania, or maybe Uganda Airlines will be Uganda, Emirates will be United Arab Emirates, and so on and so on. So you can go on and add all the details. So we've done the create and the update for the airlines. So let's do the read for the airline, then the delete for the airline. Then I think we'll take a break at that. So read for the airline. So we want to get all, we can get all the airlines in Kenya, or we can get all the airlines anywhere else in the world. So SP filter airlines. So you can get airline by country, or you can get airline by their name. Okay. So again, when you're searching, those are the parameters that you might want to use. So here, I might want to provide uh, airline name. Let me start. Yeah, I think airline name would be the first parameter. Variable character. Of course, I don't expect somebody to type 100 characters, but I'll give them anyway. Then country name. I'll also give. I don't expect somebody to type 100 characters, but I'll give them that anyway. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select airline dot all fields, then country name from airlines as A. Then you want to join the cities, not cities but country, as C on C dot country ID equals to A dot home country ID. So how the fields are arranged, right? Then from here, because we want to filter by the airline name, we can say where we're going to concatenate. So we're going to put the field that you want to filter out with, where the airline name looks like. Then of course, I want to form a string that will be able to help me filter. So this string is going to be enclosed. This is pattern matching. I know you've done pattern matching in SQL. Then I'll put my airline name here, like that. Or now I want to search the country name, like something. Actually, I just need to pick this and change here, country name. Then the only thing is once I filter, I'll order by country name. Okay, the airline name comes first, airline name. Then country name if there are two airlines that have the same name, which I highly doubt. So let's just fill it with one. Then I'll put that like that. So once I'm done with that, I'll execute that. I want to say here success, which is totally good. Now there's a small problem because at this point, what I've not done is I've not filtered out these names over here. So what I need to do is I need to filter out those names. Then from there, I can be able to now make sure that you don't get values that if you don't if supply blank in short, then they don't come as blanks. So let me just fix that here like this. So what I'll do here, I'll just put some conditions like this. So I'll put conditions here like this. So I'll say if
there are 8,900.
airline name is equals to blank, then and of course I'll end if here. So I'll simply say here set airline name is equals to something like that. Some random string that I know might never return some true value. And the same I will replicate for the country name. Like that. So I'll just copy and paste this one over here. And I think that should now be able to fix any possible issues that might come with you supplying blank values as we had seen before. So I'll execute that. That should be able to give me success. Then I can go ahead now and run this query and see. So for example, if I come here and I say call this airline name, I simply put something like Kenya. I'm only expecting Kenya Airways. If I put country name as blank, it's only going to return Kenya Airways. That's what I expect. So it's saying air.home country ID is unknown. So I'll come back to my query. Airline.home country ID. You can see I misspelled this one is home county. So I misspelled that. So well, it would have been a good idea for me to fix it on the airline itself, but because it's going to affect the insertions, well, I can fix it so that it is standard across board. So I'll right click here and alter, and I add the R here, like save. Then I'll go to insert to add save country, save airline here. Then instead of home county ID, I'll add an R here, and I'll add another R here. So you can see you make mistakes, you also fix them, because if I fix the table, I also need to fix all the stored procedures that reference that particular table. So that's okay. Then I can come back here and go ahead and check now. Now you can say I have Kenya Airways from Kenya. If I say 540,
Yeah.
then it gives me 540. Then if I say
No,
Safari,
it is a class.
then that works like that. So you can see that is now how you're able to do the filtration. Okay. So I think the last thing we need to do is to now we have done the create,
Hello.
the update, the read. Now let's get the details, then we can delete. Then I think we can have a break at that. So let's get a specific
Sasa.
airlines detail. So for the specific airlines
Ukipiga
details,
kona hivi,
again,
ukipiga on your
create,
left,
say SP,
and on your
get
left, the first
airline
junction, and on your right.
details, like that. So for me to get the airline details, I need the airline ID,
Sasa ukuta yake ukienda hivi, alafu hii side ingine
like that.
sasa ukuta yake uende mpaka mwisho. Yeah. Uende tu hivi
So
mpaka
from
mwisho,
there,
alafu kuna nini inaitwa temperature.
I'll simply say select airline
Uingie
all
hapo
fields.
katikati.
I need the country
Uende
name,
mpaka mwisho hiyo ukuta.
country name, country name. Then from airlines, A, join the countries as C on C dot, I think it's country ID. C is country ID, country. T country ID equals A is home country
It
ID.
should be 6,500, right?
Okay, so country ID. Then of course from there I can add where A dot airline ID is equals to the airline ID that was provided for. Put a semicolon and run this.
Hello.
It has a problem. It tells me near begin. So begin is here, so it means that here I have not provided the data type. So this is supposed to be integer. So you can see you can always make mistakes, but you fix them as you're writing a query. So that is actually now okay. Then I can actually call it now and see if it returns for me. So I simply say call the airline name, then I put one and I get, and it tells me this is Kenya Airways from Kenya. If I put three, something like that. So you can see it is able to work out. So let's do our final operation, which is now deleting the airline. So to delete an airline, again, right click, SP, delete airline. This is going to be pretty straightforward. I only need the airline ID, which is integer, and I simply say here, delete from airlines, where the airline ID is equals to the airline ID. So that's pretty straightforward. Do that, and when I come here, I can actually execute this statement. Here, call airline ID. So the airline ID I want to delete here is 2. Let's check which airline ID is 2. 2 is Safari link, so I want to delete Safari link. So I'll come here and say execute. One row has been affected, so it means that is perfectly okay. So when I come to my airlines and refresh, you can see Zoku is no longer there. I mean, Safari Link is no longer there. So that is how we do CRUD operation. So we can go on and on as far as creating this stored procedures is concerned, but I think that should give us an idea of how we should be able to create our database CRUD operations as far as our UML is concerned. So moving forward, I want you to go ahead and create all the stored procedures for all the entities that you're storing inside our database. Okay, so kindly do that, then share with me. Now, how you're going to do this, it will depend on really what tool you're using. If you're using SQL Yog like me, what you will do after you've created all the stored procedures and the tables, you right click on this table, then you go to backup, then you go to backup as SQL dump, then you pick where you want to store the data. So something like I'll say inside my documents, I'll say
Sasa simama
Expedia
hapo kwa
database.
mwisho hiyo ukuta, usende huko maana.
Expedia,
Na watu
Expedia flight database, like that. So if I do that, I'll export that, and it's going to export everything. So I can come to file, then I say open, then I can open this, and I'll be able to get my entire script with the stored procedures, the tables, sample data that is inside there, and everything between. So this is what I want you to share with me once you're done with all your operations. It will be able to give me everything that you've created on your database, which I can be able to load into my system and check that you've done the correct thing. So this is if you're using SQL Yog. And if you don't have SQL Yog and you are using PHP so I just log into PHP so localhost. Um,
Ona, ulikuwa unafika
then I
kwa
pick
gate ya
PHP
shule, then before ufike kwa gate ya shule kuna barabara unaenda hivi kama unapanda Catholic.
like this.
Before ufike kwa gate,
Let it open.
so kuna njia mbili unaweza enda straight, lakini huko mko na gari ama mko
It's taking a bit of time. It's taking a bit longer than usual, but let me just give it a bit of time. Maybe say a few minutes. Or okay, not minutes per se, but seconds. Let me give it a few seconds.
unakapaa hapo.
Well, it's taking longer than usual, but anyway, that's okay. Let me
Kuna kijana mwingine utampata hapo mwisho.
let me allow it. It's taking longer than necessary, but I don't know why this is the case. Usually, it's not that. It doesn't take that long. So it's come. So I'll open my Expedia flight booking over here, which is this is my database. That is if you're using PHP you don't have any client. Then just come to export here.
So unakuja na gari.
Okay. So
Alafu utaenda ufungue pale nataka kupigia yule jamaa kama ni
then here just say format as SQL, then export it. It should be able to allow me to export the entire database. So there's Expedia flight booking here. So even if I open this should also be able to give me all the tools that you have. So you can see it's the exact same thing. I have my stored procedures, I have my tables, and everything else. So the format is going to be slightly different, but the whole idea is going to be the same. They are all going to give you the exact details. So again, depending on the tool that you are going to use, export the database as appropriate, then that is what you share it with me. I will share with the class rep the format I expect that script to look like so that now they go to a specific folder where I can easily locate them and mark them as far as your work is concerned. Is that okay? I think that should summarize it for today. If there's any question, you can go ahead and ask. If there's no question, then we can take a break at that.
Yeah.
Any question, you can raise your hand. You can unmute your mic. You can also type in the comment section.
Ngoja kidogo.
Okay?
Kama dakika 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm not seeing any hands up. I'm not
minutes.
seeing any mic
Minutes.
on, and I'm not seeing anything in the comment section either. So, somebody is saying, Crispin is saying, you have a query dealing with IDs, practically if it is not primary key, will it not be hard to remember? Why not use the name EG? Now, the ID is for the database to use. The ID is used by the database and it's used to create relationship. Remember, when you're working with numbers are much easier to compare compared to text. So if I'm comparing the text Kenya and the numbers 1 and 1, comparing numbers 1 and 1 is much, much faster. So the IDs is not for us to remember. The ID is for the database to use. The names are what you're going to use for purposes of searching and doing all those kind of things. But when it comes to IDs, they are used by the database. So as you can see in most of my queries, I am using the IDs to do comparisons. I'm using the IDs to do comparisons, and that's basically it. So I'm not going to expect
Eh,
you to
sasa
remember
hawa
ID
tu
for
sikuwa tu
Kenya
ndugu
and
yangu
so forth and so
kupata,
forth.
si kama kuna
Okay.
mtu anaweza
So for Crispin,
kufungua.
we use IDs for the database, and names, you're the one who are going to you use the names on your
Watu
end. The system
kuzungumzia.
on the other side will use the IDs because
Sasa
it's much
si
easier
kama
to
hiyo page
compare
imefungwa
and
ama
search
ama
since they are
ama mtu
numbers.
anaweza kufungua tu
And they are
usiku.
auto-generated, so it means that we don't need to worry about them so
Niweke
much.
kwa cabinet ndio kuna shida.
Okay. I hope I've answered your question,
Eh?
Crispin.
Okay. Sasa
Okay. Any
hata
other
chochote
any other
nitafanya.
question?
Ukipata na resell tu nitaongelesha tu. Yeah, because hata nitawaambia.
Okay, so if there's no question, I think we'll take a break at that.
Mm.
Then maybe I think we have another class on Wednesday, if I am not wrong. So I'm expecting you to have gone through. That's why I gave you. I'm going to give you this time. I'm sure the class should be ending at around. Is it one? I don't know if the class should be ending at one or if it's ending right now. So I'm giving you this time to be able to create all the other components that you're supposed to create as far as our flight database is concerned. So use that time effectively. If there's any question, you can reach me out on email. You have my email. I think the class rep also shared my WhatsApp number. So any questions that is there that is persisting, make sure that you reach out to me and I am able to assist you where appropriate. In that case, let me take this opportunity to thank you all. I have seen a lot of improvement as far as presenting your assignments is concerned. So keep it up. So with that, I think we'll take a break. Then we meet again on Wednesday. Thank you and have a wonderful
Sasa si
rest of the day.
utakata unyo right.